You can subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss any of the videos our team has prepared, including the most recent updates and in-depth analyses of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Please hit the super thanks button below if you enjoy our videos. In recent days, the Israeli army has been engaging in an incredible offensive assault against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army has gained control of the route that connects Gaza's center city to Jabalia, specifically in the Strip's northern region. The route that connects Gaza's center city to Jaffa is now under IDF control. The Indonesian and Al-Shifa hospitals are on this route. IDF forces are once again controlling and swaying Hamas in the southern part of the Strip, between Khan Younis and Rafah. Nevertheless, Hamas persists in its operations in northern Gaza as a means of evading pressure and searching for an opening against the IDF. Hamas has been attempting to launch attacks in northern Gaza, which has resulted in one of the most violent confrontations in the Strip lately. Close to the Israeli border, these attacks have caused tensions in the area to escalate. Most recently, in this crucial region along the border between southern Israel and northern Gaza, Hamas conducted a cunning attack on a brigade of IDF reservists. The result of this strike was unexpected, and the response of the IDF reservists surprised even Hamas. The Al-Quds Brigade of Hamas reservists was proclaimed by the IDF. This information sparked a bombshell and foiled a plot to attack their camp in the Gaza Strip. At midnight, the Al-Quds Brigade's 9207th Battalion apparently received an intelligence warning about a Hamas-planned activity. Following the receipt of this vital intelligence information, the forces disbanded and got ready for the anticipated Hamas attack. After that, the Quds Brigade awaited the arrival of Hamas combatants at the camp. There was apparently a violent altercation when the terrorists broke into the Israeli Kurdish Brigade's accommodation area. Even though the brigade's members were reservists, Hamas sustained significant casualties in these battles. The IDF Air Force found Hamas tunnels close to the camp after the Al-Quds Brigade foiled Hamas's cunning attack scheme. Hamas fighters in the tunnels probably would have assaulted the camp if the attack on the Quds Brigade had been successful. The IDF Air Force destroyed these Hamas underground lines in support of this evil endeavor. Near the Gaza Strip, there is intense bombing. An explosive device detonated in the Hamas underground shaft during the IDF fighter jet attacks, resulting in multiple secondary explosions. After that, the IDF demolished nearby underground infrastructure as well as the tunnel entrance that was utilized to launch the attempted attack. The demise of Hamas has severely damaged the organization's members' motivation and morale in the Gaza Strip. Under pressure, Hamas has been engaging in ceaseless, futile operations in recent days. IDF forces in Gaza are preparing the ground for its fall. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has also provided critical analysis of Hamas's most recent circumstances in Gaza. Gallant, you said that Hamas is about to fall apart and that the IDF has taken control of these terrorists' remaining bastions. However, in light of the most recent Israeli drone strike on Jenin, a city in the West Bank, Hamas is facing tremendous pressure both in Gaza and in the West Bank. There were 4 militant deaths. Israel declared that the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade was the group to which the 4 deceased belonged. Additionally, Israeli forces attacked Jenin's al-Shirbat district and other areas where violent skirmishes were occurring. Israeli forces surrounded 3 local hospitals, as reported by the director of Jenin Public Hospital, Wissam Bakra. As part of the siege operation, the IDF arrested 12 people who were Hamas sympathizers in total. Experts predict that Hamas will take hostages again. Take hostages to stop the situation from collapsing, but the US and Israel are collaborating on this. The most recent phone conversation between U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz focused on measures to guarantee the safe return of the remaining prisoners in Gaza and to expand aid to the beleaguered region. Matthew Miller, a spokesperson for the State Department, Secretary Blinken reaffirmed that Israel must take all appropriate action and underlined the pressing need for constructive action to ease tensions in the West Bank. Secretary Blinken reaffirmed the pressing need for constructive actions to ease tensions in the West Bank and to protect the civilian population in Gaza. Israel, on the other hand, will not put up with any evil actions carried out by terrorist groups in the West Bank or Gaza. The IDF forces are keeping an eye out for Hamas activity in both regions, but they also have the residents of the Gaza Strip in mind. The Israeli military claims that it has designated the Kerem Shalom crossing station on the Israel-Gaza border as a new aid route, serving as Israel's most recent move to assist civilians residing in the Strip. The Israeli military now oversees the delivery of aid to Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing station on the Israel-Gaza border. Israel's coordinator of government activities in the territories released a statement advocating for the opening of this crossing to increase the amount of aid reaching Gaza. The Israeli authorities approved a plan to conduct security checks on vehicles transporting humanitarian aid to Gaza at the Karim Shalom and Nitzanah crossing points. The vehicles have to head back to the Rafah gate on Egypt's Gaza border with Gaza after the inspection, where the Gaza Strip is accessible to them. Furthermore, trucks carrying humanitarian supplies still pass through Rafah on their way to the Gaza Strip. The most recent information from Egyptian authorities stated that on the previous day, 61 trucks crossed the border at Rafah. All of these initiatives show that Israel is shielding civilians from Hamas while also differentiating between Gazan citizens and Hamas fighters. The IDF continues to issue warnings to people living in the southern Gaza Strip, advising them to head towards Rafah, in addition to providing humanitarian aid. It is crucial to follow these alerts, as the IDF insists. The south is moving closer to Rafah despite Hamas warnings against the people living in Canyonis and other southern communities in the Strip. Still, there have been reports of civilian attacks in the crucial region between Khan Yunis and Rafah by Hamas terrorists. And, as you can see, they placed barricades along the crossing routes to keep citizens from leaving the south. Hamas continues to use people as human shields in an attempt to seize their last opportunity. Their latest remarks regarding the peace negotiations are another piece of information suggesting that Hamas has reached its breaking point. The UN has suggested a ceasefire to end the conflict in the Gaza Strip. Hamas warmly received the UN General Assembly's call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The brief resolution demanded that all parties abide by the truce, access for humanitarian purposes to hostages under international law, and the hostages should be unconditionally and promptly released. But Hamas has not yet freed all of the hostages it is detaining. For this reason, the US vetoed the UN resolution and backed Israel's legitimate war. Because a militant group like Hamas is impossible to reconcile with. We strive around the clock to provide you with the most up-to-date and dependable news, so you won't miss the videos our team has put together, which include the most recent advancements and in-depth analyses of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. By clicking the Super Thanks button below, you can subscribe to our channel and watch our videos. Hamas organizations have been contained by Israeli soldiers in a small region in northern Gaza. Fierce fighting currently engulfs the southern region of Jabalia, acknowledged as Hamas' last stronghold in northern Gaza. The Israeli 162nd Brigade commander had declared the day before that the northern portion of the Jabalia region was under his control. Israeli forces then started moving into the southern Jabalia area, which was determined to be Hamas' final stronghold. Hamas factions in the area fiercely resisted Israeli soldiers' advances, which escalated the hostilities. The assault troops conducted operations on the region's flanks in response to the terrorists' defensive line oriented towards the north. The attack forces began to move behind the region in this scenario. Hamas was offering its final stand. As a result, the terrorists caught in the crossfire started to suffer heavy casualties. Israeli artillery and air forces, however, continued to bombard terrorist targets in the area to make room for advancing units because Israeli forces were unable to fully break the terrorists' defensive line. It is anticipated that in a short while, the wing forces will create a safe haven behind the terrorists. As the assault troops moved near the middle of the Shujaiya neighborhood, Hamas launched a huge onslaught in what militants in northern Gaza refer to as the labyrinth. Terrorists' prepared traps provide continual delays for Israeli forces moving near the center. It is noteworthy that Hamas refers to this region as a labyrinth. The terrorists make good use of the tunnels here, placing traps in every back alley. The terrorists in this area regularly use guerrilla tactics and have a vast network of tunnels under the settlement, making it difficult for Israeli soldiers to combat them. Using hit-and-run strategies, the Israeli army has sent its special forces to the terrorists' hotspot. The Fear Brigade's Haruv unit formally assigned the Shujay neighborhood at the start of the battle. This team has successfully cleared many tunnels. Now assigned to this region, the team will launch operations beneath the terrorists' labyrinths with the intention of eliminating them at their core. Israeli forces, currently fighting both above and below ground, have also sent soldiers moving eastward from Gaza City to eradicate terrorists operating in this region. Units advancing from two directions are therefore getting ready for the most difficult battles. Another name for the Shujaiya neighborhood is the key to Gaza City. This hamlet, which is located at a higher altitude, is very important to Gaza City's strategic layout. The Haruv crew has started clearing what is believed to be the deepest point of the Hamas tunnels here. The tunnels are located approximately 70 meters below the surface. To drive out the terrorists, units moving in from Shujaiya's south have begun bombarding the Al-Koba neighborhood non-stop. The terrorists, who have taken up positions in every building, launch attacks at advancing forces from every building in the settlement. Israeli forces are making extensive use of armored battle vehicles in Al-Quba and are continuously using unmanned aerial vehicles for reconnaissance because Hamas snipers are present in this region. In order to avoid friendly fire, Israeli forces locate terrorist targets and use guided missiles to destroy them. Israeli air forces have started firing guided missiles in this area as well, as a result of scattered assault groups within the settlement. As a result of Israeli troops' effective targeting of terrorist targets identified by unmanned aerial vehicles, assault units have had more time to advance. The idea is for units moving in from Shuja'iyah south to encircle the labyrinth from 3 sides. The Hamas group's stay in northern Gaza is expected to end very soon. The leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, was on the brink of discovery while hiding in a tunnel. Israeli sources have reported that Yahya Sinwar is unable to remain undercover in one location for a long time. As stated differently, Yahya Sinwar is formally on the move. Israeli forces narrowly failed to capture Yahya Sinwar, the chairman of Hamas, on 2 occasions in recent days in Gaza. After performing operations aimed at the tunnels beneath the city where Sinwar was thought to be hiding, Israeli forces advanced to the middle of Khan Yunis, Gaza. As a result, Israeli forces fought battles in the heart of the city and carried out tunnel operations. Israeli forces found 2 tunnels during the operations that they thought were where Sinwar was hiding. Prior to the operation, Israeli forces discovered that Sinwar had escaped one of the tunnels using an emergency exit. Based on current Israeli intelligence, Sinwar's escape routes have become much more limited. In the meantime, the Israeli army's creation of a corridor in the heart of the Gaza Strip has begun to see its units move south. Clashes between Israeli soldiers and Hamas have broken out in the neighborhoods of al-Magraka and Azara as a result of this advancement. This development suggests that significant progress has started in southern Gaza as a consequence of the first Israeli military actions in the Boraj area. Assailant teams are currently eradicating Hamas groups in the Barrage neighborhood's heart. After the vanguard units arrive at Salah al-Din Street, Israeli forces are anticipated to seize control of this region shortly. By the start of the new year, it is anticipated that the extensive operations carried out against the Hamas organization in southern Gaza will result in the organization's total withdrawal from Gaza and the Israeli forces' presence there. Although there haven't been any specific directives from Israeli commanders to intensify the fighting, the operational command has almost completely cleansed the regions where Hamas is most active. As a result, Israeli soldiers are nearing the end of their mission and are already starting operations in regions where Hamas activity is lower. 4 settlements east of Khan Yunis are the target of ongoing operations. Due to the terrorists' limited escape options as a result of these efforts against them, clashes have broken out in the area. The Israeli army's main battle tank effectively hit the observation post from which terrorists were firing on forces that were advancing with machine guns. As a result of this, attack forces are currently moving in the direction of the Bani Suhaila neighborhood's core. The Bani Suhaila neighborhood's terrorists remain trapped west of Salah al-Din Road. Terrorists from Hamas are eliminated as soon as they emerge from hiding, thanks to Israeli unmanned aerial vehicle sweeps throughout the region. As a result, the terrorists imprisoned in the 4 settlements east of Khan Yunis have begun to run toward tunnels beneath the surface. Given that Israeli jets have been firing bunker-bursting munitions on tunnels they have discovered, it is anticipated that the terrorists in the area will soon submit. The Israeli assault forces' ground operation will gain momentum if the terrorists in this region do not surrender. It is noteworthy that Hamas has not resisted much in this area. The assault units have taken control of Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, according to the most recent reports. The assault units have completely destroyed Hamas factions in northern Gazan settlements close to the Israeli border. It is anticipated that the last blow to the terrorists confined to one location will come very soon. Please consider making a donation to help us continue to provide information. We greatly appreciate your support. We will observe in the upcoming days. You can help us by liking the video. You can quickly follow new videos by subscribing. Now that the ground campaign has entered its underground phase, the Israeli army is searching for senior Hamas officials. The Israeli army is now prepared to plan and carry out the next phase as a result of these victories in southern Gaza and, more significantly, the finding of the main Hamas tunnel in Erez. The finding of Yahya Sinwar and his brother in the tunnels, as well as the main tunnel, the hull, provided crucial information. The Israeli army is currently taking action to dismantle the primary leadership structure of Hamas. After more than 2 months of fighting, the Israeli army said today that it had achieved full operational control of Jabalia, the old Hamas bastion in Gaza City. This victory represents a significant achievement for the Israeli military. Today, the Israeli army made the announcement that it has made substantial progress in the ongoing war that has been taking place in the northern zone of the Gaza Strip. taking into account the advancements in Jabalia that were highlighted. The Israeli army stated today that it conducted targeted strikes in Khan Yunis, leading to the discovery of a weapons storage facility. Israel is under the impression that senior Hamas commanders are hiding within the network of tunnels that the organization has constructed within the city. Israel will send extra combat engineers to the southern Gaza Strip in order to destroy tunnels and other facilities belonging to Hamas. The top military spokesman for Israel, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, issued a statement in which he declared that the government had significantly increased the size of its military. In order to destroy the remaining tunnels in southern Gaza, particularly in the communist area in the south, Israel is focusing its efforts on locating senior Hamas leaders, such as the organization's chief, Yahya Sinwar, and Mohammed Dave, the leader of the group's armed wing. These individuals are believed to be hiding in the extensive network of tunnels that Hamas has constructed in Khan Yunis. This week, the Israeli Defense Forces publicly revealed the largest Hamas terror tunnel discovered to date. It was constructed in the northern Gaza Strip, near the border with Israel. In order to conceal information regarding whether or not Hamas exploited the tunnel during the slaughter that took place on October 7, the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, cited Mohammed, the brother of Yahya Sinwar, the chief of Hamas in Gaza, as the leader. This group of terrorists was responsible for the deaths of 1,200 people in southern Israel. However, given that it extends around 4 kilometers from the northern section of the Jabalia refugee camp to within 300 meters, which is less than 1,000 feet, of the border, it is reasonable to believe that it exerted some influence. Motorbikes and off-road vehicles are moving at a rapid pace from the massive entrance located in the northern part of the area. If there had been a gathering of this magnitude and so close to the border barrier, the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, patrols and observation stations would have arrived too late and been under too much pressure to prevent an attack. Over the course of many years, Israel has been aware of the extensive tunnel networks and underground Hamas operations in Gaza. Nonetheless, it has primarily abstained from carrying out operations over the border in order to remove these networks. Deploying ground forces into Gaza poses significant risks to innocent lives and requires difficult military decisions. As a result, Israel has primarily abstained from carrying out operations over the border to remove the extensive tunnel networks and underground Hamas operations. This approach is part of the strategy to keep Hamas under control. The political elites, for the most part, avoided it until the 7th of October. This week, the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, made the discovery of a tunnel that is commonly referred to as the trunk in the local lingo. The Israeli Defense Forces branches have not yet released photos to the public. On the other hand, these do exist. A primary shaft that is 50 meters deep, branches that run out of the sides, an exit shaft that is located in a school, and other structures are all components that make up the massive tunnel network system. A slit is typically located at the top of these tunnels, and the trunks that serve as floors are typically present. The photographs made available to the public by the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, show the steps leading out of the tunnel. Following the revelation of this significant information, the Israeli army moved swiftly to arrange special operations in order to capture senior Hamas executives and their commanders from the underground tunnels. The Israeli Army's Yahalom Brigade and Specialty Engineering Brigades, which are trained to dismantle tunnels and conduct operations within them, discovered the largest tunnel within the hull by utilizing surveillance robots. In the aftermath of that, Israeli elite commandos utilized explosives and specialized instruments, such as sponge bombs, in order to destroy crucial escape routes and exits along the main hull tunnel line. The Israeli army keeps certain tunnel entrances open until they need them to set up ambushes and traps. Specially prepared robots carrying bombs emerged from beneath them, forcing the vulnerable Hamas leaders and members to face the prospect of devastation. There is also the possibility that they could choose to flee through the few exits that are still available. Israeli engineering teams carried out a 72-hour operation to apprehend Hamas officials near the trap entrances for security reasons. As a result of this remarkable strategy, the Israeli army is now aware that it has successfully penetrated the underground network of Hamas and that it will soon be able to catch a few of the organization's most significant senior leaders. In addition, it is going to take place within the following 48 hours. They have 72 hours left to live, and time is running out. The timer is about to hit its limit. In the course of its operations against Hamas, the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, said earlier this month that it had discovered 500 wells and 800 tunnels of varied lengths and widths. The northern part of Gaza, where the ground invasion began and reached its peak, contained the majority of the discovered tunnel. Smugglers also use large tunnels beneath Gaza's common border with Egypt, which is located close to the southern boundaries of the Strip. In addition to the quantity or length of tunnels, the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, are also confronted with the challenge of Brigadier General Lieutenant General Yehuda Kiffer, who is an expert in underground warfare and an engineer. An engineer who specializes in underground combat and is an expert in war. Prior to that, she was the coordinator of underground warfare for the Technology and Logistics Directorate of the Israel Defense Forces. Started Tunnel Warfare, a Facebook group, 10 years ago. Within this group, he actively discusses the danger that tunnels bring and lobbies for a Knesset committee discussion on the subject. Undoubtedly, a problem awaits discovery in the field of historical research on underground warfare. The fact that generals are counting the number of enemy fighters dead, kilometers, or bullets, or that they are discussing the quantity and size of tunnels, is an indication that things are not going well, according to Kafir. The magnitude of the explosion, its distance from the target, and the number of tons that are present during a fight are all irrelevant. Nevertheless, what strategy does the army employ in order to defeat the adversary? Despite the fact that the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, have found a significant number of tunnels, we have not yet been able to identify any breaches made by the enemy. Since the Israeli Defense Forces have not found any enemy breaches, it seems that the goals of the battle have not yet been accomplished. You need to be aware of the fact that judging the enemy's position in subterranean warfare is substantially more difficult than it is in surface warfare. This is due to the fact that we are unable to see what is going on underneath. When it comes to military history, it has never been easy to understand what is going on the other side of the conflict. The difficulty of determining the severity of attacks on an underground army, as well as their location and length, has always been a challenge. An individual who had served in Japan during the Second World War resurfaced from a hole several years after the war's conclusion. Tunnels represent a significant advancement in terms of survivability. The defense establishment was aware that tunnels existed in the Arrows Crossing area, despite the fact that new evidence was just disclosed by the Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson. This information also provided greater insight into the engineering work that went into this particular tunnel. One of the new excavation tools demonstrated in the movie is a homemade tunnel boring machine, TBM, similar to the one used for excavating the Tel Aviv metro. In addition to the round shape of the tunnel, a large quantity of steel was recently created, replacing concrete in this company. This company uses steel instead of concrete. The Operation Protective Edge that took place in 2014 indicated that these videos depict tunnels that are more complicated. They have invested a vast amount of money in them. Hamas was able to acquire steel and put it to use in a variety of ways. Compared to other materials, steel is more expensive, easier to process, and of higher quality. It is clear from this that Hamas is not experiencing any financial issues. According to their utilization, they have a great deal more money than they had in the year 2014. These strengthened massive doors are a clear indication of the wonderful quality. It should come as no surprise that they are of such a wonderful quality. Workers first carry the steel to Gaza, where they shape it in a particular workshop before assembling it. After that, they complete the assembly process. It appears that they bring in steel from outside the Strip. Both the manufacturing of rocket launchers and missiles require steel as a vital component in order to be successful. If we have seen a considerable number of steel doors in this tunnel footage, then we are able to draw the conclusion that there are a huge number of steel doors in the tunnels that are still ready for use. The fact that they have no trouble acquiring large materials or resources is definitely not something that should come as a surprise. According to numerous reports that have surfaced, the tunnels used for transporting products between Gaza and Egypt have reportedly been damaged. All of this material, on the other hand, makes it abundantly evident that their operation to smuggle products out of Sinai was a successful one. Engineers and construction workers working for Hamas in the Soviet zone amassed the majority of the knowledge and experience pertaining to tunnel construction. In light of the fact that this is the way in which the tunnels in the north are developing, we may therefore make the assumption that the tunnels in the south are larger, more advanced, and better equipped than the tunnels in the north. With this newfound knowledge, we have a greater idea of the capabilities of Hamas tools, particularly the rotary hand drills that are designed to be operated simultaneously by two people. This is an example of the creation of techniques for excavating that are currently unavailable for use in commercial settings on the market. It not only demonstrates the existence of a development department, but it also provides the sense that it is a regional adaptation of a fundamental drilling device. This is a really interesting observation. As opposed to doing nothing but sitting around doing nothing, they are making investments in order to strengthen their excavation capabilities. According to statements made by the Israeli Defense Forces, this tunnel features a drop that is 50 meters in height. To what extent is it essential for them to possess this level of nuance? In the past, the Israeli Defense Forces had been operating under the idea that Hamas was excavating to a depth of 30 meters because that is the level at which the groundwater is located. Hamas demonstrated an additional technological achievement on Sunday with the discovery of a 50-meter deep tunnel situated beneath the surface of the groundwater. When viewed from an engineering perspective, the construction procedure at this stage is highly intricate. A steady pressure is present during excavation whenever there is water available. This pressure is there at all times. A worker who is excavating the groundwater and constructing the structure runs the risk of drowning if they do not have access to specialized pumping equipment that can drain the water and prevent floods. This is because the worker is digging up the groundwater. Despite the fact that it is a significant improvement over what we knew about its capabilities prior to Operation Protective Edge, the deeper you go, the more protected you are. That which we are discussing is technology that goes beyond what is considered to be ordinary. IDFS has been working on improving deep explosive capabilities since 2017, and as a result, there is a need for extra research. When Hamas discovered a number of Islamic Jihad members buried in a tunnel that crossed the border, they received important intelligence into the situation. Because of this, Hamas was able to acquire some comprehension. It has arrived at the conclusion that, in order for it to continue existing, it must go deeper into its existence. A discovery revealed an underground metropolis composed of corridors and tunnels that interconnected the different levels. You can locate the underground street, which has a greater number of entrances than the surface street. The interior architecture effectively conveys their plan and the rationale behind the tunnels. Individuals might congregate in certain areas near the ceiling throughout the gigantic tunnels. The rebels themselves utilize the shafts to launch attacks. It is possible for the trunk to reveal whether or not this is a tunnel for the smuggling of automobiles and other items of equipment, and this determination is dependent on the size of Main Street. Although the spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, did not identify the tunnel's internal communication system, they did claim to have found communication boxes or energy panels. However, they did not discuss the tunnel's security system. It is possible for you to ensure that you do not miss any of the videos that our team has produced by subscribing to our channel, watching our films, and clicking the Super Thanks button that is located below. This collection of films includes exclusive reporting as well as the most recent happenings about the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians.